Hi there, people. This time we're going to be doing a full time-lapse on a DarkMage I sketched out a while ago. This time-lapse is going to start out with just a little bit of line work on this staff here. I've already done the majority of the work on the rest of it. You can see me using primitives here. Primitives like these circles here are really good for getting out quick symmetrical objects. You can see I'm just deleting the parts I don't need. One useful habit to get into is just checking your line work against a white background. It can help remove biases from your original work. You can see me here pulling out the hat, making it a little bit larger. I really like the proportions after the modifications. As soon as I'm happy with the line work, I just drop it straight into Photoshop. Make sure you lock that line art and put every base color on a separate layer and name them appropriately. If you do that right, you can edit their hue, saturation, or whatever other property later. It can save a ton of time if you need to make any changes, or if you wanted to make an alternate color palette later. When I'm using the magic wand for selections, I make sure to expand it by 1 pixel, and then go into another layer and hit my fill operation. That will prevent transparency fuzz on the corners and edges. Oh, if you like this music, you should check out Neon Bablyon. He has pages over on YouTube and on SoundCloud. Here you can see me doing the eye selection. I could have did this in Illustrator, but I decided to do it in Photoshop. I put both of the whites of the eyes on the same layer, and everything on top of that. That way I can use shading tools later. After you get the base colors down, you can start shading. There's tons of different ways to shade, but the easiest one is just to use the line art as a selection tool. I also wanted to quickly mention that you can find the final image over on my Patreon accompanying this video. Always remember that your shading should be independent of the color. Not everybody sees color the same way, so make sure you check your shading without color as well. An easy way to do this is make your shadows completely black and then adjust the transparency afterwards. As long as you're working on separate layers, adding and removing shadow detail can be done at any time. When doing shading, try to remember the direction of light, if there's any bounce light in the area, atmospheric effects. You should also probably think about where your shadows are coming from, like for example on this hat, it's casting the shadow down on the cane. A lot of shading is pretty much the same process over and over in different ways, so I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. Remember when you're doing shading that it's not just flat colors to use gradients. If you look here on the eye, what I do is I make a round selection, I color everything else, I select the line art, and then I do the inverse of that, then go back to the original gradient layer and delete. This will save you a lot of time on the shape and texture of the eye. The last thing I do is I just clean up a little bit of the line art. Anything that I forgot to do in Illustrator. You really shouldn't have to do this, it's just I was lazy in Illustrator. I didn't play with the line width. I just wanted to thank everybody for watching. You guys have been awesome. I also wanted to thank all my patrons over at Patreon. Without your guys' help, this wouldn't really be possible. So, thank you very much.